The Great Famine, Ireland. The Great Famine, also known within Ireland as the Great Hunger, or simply the Famine, and outside Ireland as the Irish Potato Famine, was a period of starvation and disease in Ireland from 1845 to 1852 that constituted a historical social crisis which subsequently had a major impact on Irish society and history as a whole. With the most severely affected areas in the west and south of Ireland, where the Irish language was dominant, the period was contemporaneously known in Irish as an droshaol, literally translated as the bad life, and loosely translated as the hard times. The worst year of the period was 1847, which became known as Black 47. During the Great Hunger, roughly 1 million people died and more than 1 million fled the country, causing the country's population to fall by 20 to 25%, in some towns falling as much as 67% between 1841 and 1871. Between 1845 and 1855, at least 2 million people left Ireland, primarily on packet ships but also on steamboats and barks, one of the greatest exoduses from a single island in history. The proximate cause of the famine was a potato blight that infected potato crops throughout Europe during the 1840s, causing an additional 100,000 deaths outside Ireland and influencing much of the unrest in the widespread European revolutions of 1848. Longer-term causes include the system of absentee landlordism. Famine, a sequence. Desmond Egan. 1. The stink of famine hangs in the bushes still, in the sad Celtic hedges. You can catch it down the line of our landscape, get its taste on every meal. Listen, there is famine in our music, famine behind our faces. It is only a field away, has made us all immigrants, guilty for having survived. has separated us from language, cut us from our culture, built blocks around belief, left us on our own, ashamed to be seen, walking out beauty so honoured by our ancestors, but fostered now to peasants, the drivers of motorway diggers unearthing bones by accident under the disappearing hills. Absentee landlords were a highly significant issue in the history of Ireland. During the course of 16th and 17th centuries, most of the land in Ireland was confiscated from Irish Catholic landowners during the plantations of Ireland and granted to Scottish, Welsh and English settlers who were members of the established churches, the Church of England and the Church of Ireland at the time. In Ulster, many of the landowners were Scottish Presbyterians. Confiscated land was also given to absentee Protestant landlords in Great Britain, some of whom rented it out to the Irish, while they themselves remained residents of Scotland, Wales and England. By 1782, the Irish politician Henry Grattan deplored that some £800,000 was transferred annually to such landlords. He attempted to place an extra tax on remittance to absentee British landowners. Many absentees also reinvested part of their rents into roads and bridges to improve local economies that are still seen today. A notable beneficial absentee in the 19th century was Lord Palmerston, who went into debt to develop his part of Sligo, an investment that eventually paid off. By the 1800s, resentment grew as not only were the absentee landlords Protestant, while most tenants were Catholic and forbidden to inherit land, but their existence meant that the goods produced in Ireland were primarily exported. This system became particularly detrimental to the Irish population during the Great Famine, when, despite Ireland being a net exporter of food, millions starved, died of disease or emigrated. In the years following, the land issue with the Irish Land League's land war became a significant issue in Ireland. The land issue was one of the historic factors which resulted in Ireland's troubled history until the 1920s, though it had largely been addressed legislatively by 1903 in the Irish Land Acts. Initial limited but constructive government actions to alleviate famine distress were ended by a new Whig administration in London, which pursued a laissez-faire economic doctrine, in part because they believed the famine was due to lacking moral character, and only resumed later. The refusal of London to bar export of food from Ireland during the famine was an immediate and continuing source of controversy, contributing to anti-British sentiment and the campaign for independence. The Itinerant Singing Girl by Jane Francesca Wilde. Fatherless and motherless, no brothers have I, and all my little sisters in the cold grave lie. Wasted with hunger I saw them falling dead, lonely and bitter are the tears I shed. Friendless and loveless I wander to and fro, singing while my faint heart is breaking fast with woe. Smiling in my sorrow and singing for my bread, lonely and bitter are the tears I shed. Harp clang and merry song by strangers' door and board, none ask wherefore tremble my pale lips at each word. None care why the colour from my wan cheek has fled, lonely and bitter are the tears I shed. Smiling and singing still, though hunger, want and woe freeze the young life, current in my veins as I go. Begging for my living, yet wishing I were dead, lonely and bitter are the tears I shed. Additionally, the famine indirectly resulted in tens of thousands of households being evicted, exacerbated by a provision forbidding access to workhouse aid while in possession of more than 1/4 acre of land. The famine was a defining moment in the history of Ireland, which was part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from 1801 to 1922. The famine and its effects permanently changed the island's demographic, political and cultural landscape, producing an estimated 2 million refugees and spurring a century-long population decline. For both the native Irish and those in the resulting diaspora, the famine entered folk memory. The strained relations between many Irish and their ruling British government worsened further because of the famine, heightening ethnic and sectarian tensions and boosting nationalism and republicanism both in Ireland and among Irish immigrants around the world. English documentary maker John Percival said that the famine became part of the long story of betrayal and exploitation, which led to the growing movement in Ireland for independence. Scholar Kirby Miller makes the same point. Debate exists regarding nomenclature for the event, whether to use the term famine, potato famine, or great hunger, the last of which some believe most accurately captures the complicated history of the period. The potato blight returned to Europe in 1879, but by this time the Land War, one of the largest agrarian movements to take place in 19th century Europe, had begun in Ireland. The movement, organised by the Land League, continued the political campaign for the 3 Fs, which was issued in 1850 by the Tenant Right League during the Great Famine. When the potato blight returned to Ireland in the 1879 famine, the League boycotted notorious landlords, and its members physically blocked the eviction of farmers, the consequent reduction in homelessness and house demolition, resulting in a drastic reduction in the number of deaths. The Famine Year by Jane Francesca Wilde. Weary men, what reap ye? Golden corn for the stranger? What sow ye? Human corpses that wait for the avenger. Fainting forms hunger-stricken, what see you in the offing? Stately ships to bear our food away amid the stranger's scoffing. There's a proud array of soldiers. Why do they round your door? They guard our master's granaries from the thin hands of the poor. Pale mothers, wherefore weeping? Would to God that we were dead. Our children swoon before us, and we cannot give them bread. We are wretches, famished, scorned, human tools to build your pride. But God yet will take vengeance for the souls for whom Christ died. Now is your hour of pleasure. Bask ye in the world's caress, but our whitening bones against ye will rise as witnesses. From the cabins and the ditches, in their charred, uncoffined masses, for the angel of the trumpet will know them as he passes. A ghastly spectral army before the great God will stand, and arraign ye as our murderers, the spoilers of our land. Give Me 3 Grains of Corn, Mother, by Amanda M. Edmond, 1824 to 1862. Give me 3 grains of corn, Mother, only 3 grains of corn. It will keep the little life I have till the coming of the morn. I am dying of hunger and cold, Mother, dying of hunger and cold, and half the agony of such a death my lips have never told. It has gnawed like a wolf at my heart, Mother, a wolf that is fierce for blood. All the livelong day and the night beside, gnawing for lack of food. I dreamed of bread in my sleep, Mother, and the sight was heaven to see. I awoke with an eager, famishing lip, but you had no bread for me. How could I look to you, Mother? How could I look to you for bread to give to your starving boy when you were starving too? For I read the famine in your cheek and in your eyes so wild, and I felt it in your bony hand as you laid it on your child. The Queen has lands and gold, Mother, the Queen has lands and gold, while you were forced to your empty breast a skeleton babe to hold. A babe that is dying of want, Mother, as I am dying now, with a ghastly look in its sunken eye and famine upon its brow. What has poor Ireland done, mother? What has poor Ireland done, that the world looks on and sees us starve, perishing one by one? Do the men of England care not, mother, the great men and the high, for the suffering sons of Erin's Isle, whether they live or die? There is many a brave heart here, mother, dying of want and cold, while only across the channel, mother, are many that roll in gold. There are rich and proud men there, mother, with wondrous wealth to view, and the bread they fling to their dogs tonight would give life to me and you. Come nearer to my side, mother, come nearer to my side, and hold me fondly as you held my father when he died. Quick, for I cannot see you, mother. My breath is almost gone. Mother, dear mother, here I die. Give me 3 grains of corn. In 1847, Bishop of Meath, Thomas Nulty, described his personal recollection of the evictions in a pastoral letter to his clergy. 700 human beings were driven from their homes in one day and set adrift on the world to gratify the caprice of one who, before God and man, probably deserved less consideration than the last and least of them. The horrid scenes I then witnessed, I must remember all my life long. The wailing of women, the screams, the terror, the consternation of children, the speechless agony of honest, industrious men, wrung tears of grief from all who saw them. I saw officers and men of a large police force who were obliged to attend on the occasion cry like children at beholding the cruel sufferings of the very people whom they would be obliged to butcher had they offered the least resistance. The landed proprietors in a circle all around, and for many miles in every direction, warned their tenantry with threats of their direct vengeance against the humanity of extending to any of them the hospitality of a single night's shelter. And in little more than 3 years, nearly a fourth of them lay quietly in their graves.